Pellets, pellets, pellets! Do you have too many pellets on your hands? Are you at a loss of what to do with all those pellets? Well, here at Grandpa Jay's Woodworks, we have the perfect solution for you. Holiday porch decorations. If you act now, yes, you too, and I do mean you, can also make these holiday porch decorations. So get up off that couch, go outside, and get to work. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Grandpa Jay's Woodworks. Like I showed you in the commercial preview, that was fun to do. I'm going to be making a holiday porch decoration. This one's going to be a very simplistic one. I'm on a time constraint to get this thing done, and I'm hoping in future videos to actually show you a little more complicated ones that have designs on both the front and the back and nice little 3D extra flourishes on them to make them really cool looking. But like I said, this one's going to be a real simplistic one. The first thing that you want to do is actually break down your pallet boards. Now, I've already done that with these, and I used a Sawzall to cut them so that there's actually still nails in them. I have found a guy on YouTube that uses a much different method. I have not used this method yet, but I think it's going to be much better than using the Sawzall. And I'm going to link that video down in the descriptions below. So we're going to start off. We got 6 pallet boards here. 4 of them are going to be the body. One of them is going to be a cross piece for the brim. And the next one is actually going to be something for on the bottom to hold the boards in place, and a little platform for it to hopefully stand up on. So stay tuned for the next segment, which is going to be sanding. Okay, so one of the reasons why we did the sanding was so that we can get rid of the dirt and grime and any loose wood off of the boards, because we're going to be painting them later. Now, one of the things that would be ideal and that I'm planning on doing in the future is I'm going to make sure that the nails are out of these things and run them through my planer. But if you don't have a planer, by all means, use the sander. Now, one of the things that you may have noticed that was not a good thing for me to do was I wasn't wearing hearing protection. So make sure that you're wearing hearing protection, because it can get rather loud running the sander and any other equipment that you may be running at that time. So safety first. I'll see you in the next segment. All right, what we need to do now is take one of our boards and figure out how we want to make the brim of the hat. What I'm going to be making here is the head of a snowman. So we'll have this out, figure out the distance. So right about here looks good. So I'm going to make a little mark on here. Then I'm going to cut it to length. And I'm also going to cut this board the length to fit down here as part of the base of this. I'm going to cut it to the length, which I'll mark right here. And I'll see you in the next segment. Okay, so this is going to be part of our base. As you saw, I cut it in half, and I'm going to put half of it on the front side, half it on the back side, and then I'm going to nail it. Okay, so I nailed on the bottom bracing to help hold the boards together. Now the brim of the hat is actually going to help hold the top side of the pallet boards together. I currently don't want to put it on just quite yet because I actually want to kind of paint this as well as paint the brim before I put the brim on. And it will actually hide kind of in between. So what I want to do is kind of figure out exactly how far down I want this to go. I think I'll go a little bit. That looks pretty good. So I want to go about halfway. So here to about here. And I'll give myself a little marking guide for where I want to do the painting. The bottom side of it's going to be white, the top side is going to be black. The white part is the face of the snowman, the top black part is actually going to be his hat, as well as the brim. So now I got to get some paper to lay underneath of this because you don't want to mess up your workbench area, even though mine right now is a clutter. So we'll be right back. So I have some white spray paint. I have some black spray paint. Then I have the clear coat lacquer. We're going to spray the bottom part of this white for the snowman's face. The top part is going to be black and the brim's going to be black for the hat. Then I'm going to switch it over, paint the whole back side of it white. And after everything is dried, I'm going to paint on some of the details and then we're going to cover it with the clear coat lacquer. So let's get to it. as you can see, the wood is soaking up the spray paint. So what I'm going to need to do is actually put down a primer first before we can paint it. And currently I don't have a brush, so I'm going to have to go to the store, get a brush so that we can brush on the primer. I'll see you when I get back. Thanks. All right, guys, I'm back. So let's start painting. All right, let me pause here for just a moment. Now this is an indoor-outdoor primer. I went ahead and picked this up because I wasn't sure about the primer that I had on hand. This is Benjamin Moore's Pure Seal. It's a latex primer sealer. Now I'm going to go ahead and seal up the top side where I already painted it black with the primer, and then come back over it. Being a latex, indoor-outdoor, primarily outdoor, this should help seal the wood. Now I'm still going to put the lacquer on top of it after the fact just to give it a better seal so that it can withstand the weather outside. Now preferably this goes on a porch, not out in the actual weather itself, but we would just want to give it as much protection as possible. So let's get back to it. All right, I got one coat on. It does say that it can take 1 to 2 coats. Now I do want to have 2 coats on this just to ensure that it's really well sealed. It takes about an hour in between 2 coats. So I'll be back in an hour or so, or a day or so, and finish this up. See you soon. Okay, so I already put a second coat of the primer on here. And one of the things that I made a mistake on was having the wood directly on the paper and painting it. So that when I went to separate it, of course the paper has gotten to where it's on here. So I'm going to have to sand it before I can put on a coat on the back side of this. So that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to sand this down. Okay, now that we've got it sanded down, one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you have it elevated up away from the paper so that, like the mistake I just made, you don't have the paint go onto the paper and the wood and have them stick together, creating a mess. Now, one of the things that you can do, and I don't know what happened to mine, is that you can use egg cartons. You can cut out the little sections of old egg cartons, that the areas where the eggs are held in, turn them upside down, stick them underneath the wood that you're going to paint or stain, It helps elevate it up and makes it to where there's not a mess. So we're going to go ahead and do the back sides of these, and also I'm going to paint the base that's going to go on the bottom of our snowman here. See you in the next segment.
Now, I would like to apologize for the audio. As I was sanding, I ended up losing my microphone. It fell on the floor, so I wasn't very loud. And I elevated the dBs in that segment so that you could actually hear me a little bit better. That's why it sounds really off. And I also lost audio in some of my other segments where I started talking about what was going on. So I cut those out of this video, and I'll explain what happens further on. So I made my line. Now I'm painting the hat black on the top part of this of the pallet wood, and then after I get done doing that, I am switching to the white paint, which is a little redundant considering that the primer is already white, but it gives it a little extra flair.
All right, so I gave this another day to dry. So we're now on day 3. It's a very simple project, but time consuming just due to the fact that you gotta let the paint dry, especially between different coats. So now I'm gonna assemble the brim and the base, and then we're gonna paint on most of his face. All right, guys. So I already used polyurethane on the back side of this, and now I'm going to do it on the front side and on the bottom here to help seal it up from the weather. All right, well, that concludes this video of making a holiday porch decoration. I hope that you enjoyed the snowman. I know that there's a lot of videos out there that show you how to make these, and also a lot of other things on Pinterest, TikTok, things like that. But I hope you enjoyed the one that I made. And in the future, I do plan on making the more complicated ones where they do have the front and the back of two different seasons. So that way you can save space in your storage. Once again, thanks for joining me. We'll see you in the next one.